Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be talking about the next-gen systems. We have a lot more information out now, so I can give my updated thoughts and kind of give the pros and cons to each one. I have a bunch of information in front of me, and I want to talk over some things that have been going on recently as well, so it's kind of just a big discussion about the Xbox Series and the PS5, essentially. And straight off the bat, now let's talk about pricing, because to be honest, the pricing is really intriguing. We have both, and this will be in dollars, but in the UK it'll be slightly different. But essentially, you've got a $500 machine for PS5 and a $500 machine for the Xbox Series X. Then for digital edition only for PS5, it's $399, and then for the Xbox Series S, $299. The Xbox Series S in the UK is 250 quid, which is super cheap. Like, it's like £20 less than I think when the Switch came out, which is crazy. That's crazy cheap considering how expensive these consoles are. But looking at all of this right now that I've had time to digest it, there's a lot of stuff been going on. We're going to talk about the games, we're going to talk about everything else as well. And, you know, you're going to land on one side or the other based on, I think, personal value. And I think that's what this whole generational leap is going to be. Like, what do you value more right now? And because of like the times we live in, these aren't cheap machines by any stretch of the imagination. These are expensive machines, especially if you get the X or you get the PS5 normal edition. So if you're paying $500, you know, which is probably about $450 in this country, I think, you know, that's a significant amount of money. So what do I think? Well, I'm not really. I play most of my games on my PC or on my Switch. I primarily play Nintendo games because they have things like Mario, Smash, you know, Mario Kart, games like that I really enjoy personally. And then PC, you know, I play a lot of RTS and first-person shooters and whatever else on there. So I've never really had a huge need to have an Xbox or a PlayStation 5. However, you know, exclusives sell consoles and value sells consoles. And these machines now are pretty cheap machines, really, for the power they're giving out, which is pretty impressive. Personally, if I had to buy one of these, I'm seriously thinking about the Xbox Series S, which is the all-digital one, and getting a subscription to Game Pass, because Game Pass right now is incredible value. Not only is it all the stuff we've had, you know, a bunch of first-party exclusives and plus other games, you know, what they currently have on there now. A lot of first-party games get put on that, get put on offer there, day and date when the release of those games. That you're essentially paying what, £10 to £15 a month, and you just get access to these brand new games. Plus, they got the whole EA access thing in there now. And honestly, right now, that is, to me, who somebody didn't have an Xbox One or, you know, One X and all that stuff, like that's a pretty sweet, you know, idea to get something like that. Simply because like there's a lot of games I just didn't play. I'm not saying they're necessarily games I was super excited about to maybe go out and buy an Xbox, but to pay that kind of money and get access to over like 100 games, plus there's probably more than that at this point, and just be able to play that. I mean, with the price of these games going up, they're $70 in America. I think they're going up to £70 in the UK, that's scary territory. I think the problem is the games are getting too expensive for consumers, and I think putting up to the £70, $70 thing is really anti-consumer, and people can make the argument that gaming development is more expensive, but I don't think that justifies putting up an extra $10 or £10. It's definitely going to put me off. You know, I don't mind paying 40 quid for a game. On Switch, I buy games at about £40. Sometimes a little bit more, but generally I don't want to pay more than 40 quid for a game. I don't think people always understand how expensive games are. Like, people can say, oh, they should be more expensive, but I think games are already quite expensive, and that's how I feel about it. They're not cheap, and you know, putting them up to this crazy price is really going to deter people. You know, and that's going to be a real factor in this now. Now we know that, and I don't know if Xbox have come out and said that their games will be £70, $70, but I'm pretty sure they will be. But yeah, the Xbox Series S for me is the kind of the one I'm looking at. But But what it comes down to is a couple of things. We've got Sony with their brand new system with exclusives on there, right? And by exclusives, I primarily mean Demon's Souls and then Ratchet and Clank coming out, because we'll get into why Miles Morales isn't like super exclusive as it once was. So, do you buy a PS5 machine and Demon's Souls, or buy it and wait to get Ratchet and Clank? Or do you get an Xbox console and get Game Pass but don't really have any brand new first party exclusives on launch? I'm sure there will be one or two, but nothing like major apparently. On the third party front, you're going to have a lot of games like Cyberpunk will be there, you're going to have Assassin's Creed, there's going to be a lot of stuff there to play whichever console you get. So, you know, so I see it like this: you either pick up an Xbox and you get Game Pass on there and you have a hell of a back catalogue to play, or you pick up the PlayStation to play some brand new games, whereas Microsoft probably won't have any for a little while. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, which of those do you think is more suited to you as a person buying them? Personally, I don't want to spend £400 and something on a console. I'd rather spend a little bit more money and build myself a nice PC for that. But, you know, people don't... I can see people wanting these systems because they are they're big jumps from the last generations of consoles. Now, the problem is Sony have been doing some things to be shooting themselves in the foot recently and really kind of mess up. We had the whole pre-order fiasco. If you don't know, they were saying in a video that they were going to like let people know well ahead of time when pre-orders go live. Then they put out a tweet saying they go live tomorrow, and then a bunch of places just broke street date and pre-orders went up and it was a whole mess. They've apologised for it. Apparently they're going to be putting more pre-orders up, but they kind of handled it very weirdly and just kind of like, I don't want to flat out say lied about it, but definitely lack of communication. The other thing they did was they said that there weren't going to be cross-generation games back, I believe it was March time, February, March time. And that isn't true. Horizon and Spider-Man, and I believe there's one other game, are all going to be on the PS4. Which now, if people know that, then that is a problem, because some people are going to want to play those games and not invest in a new console. Like, who wants to pay 500 quid for a brand new console when they've already got one that works and they can just get the game they want? So, yeah, Sony have done really well messaging the game side of things. You can't deny that they've looked better with their with their showcases and the games and showing off gameplay and showing all these like exclusives in the kind of time frames. And Microsoft have shown stuff, but a lot of people aren't as excited. However, Microsoft have been super clear on like cross-generation, backwards compatibility, all that sort of stuff. And Sony hasn't, and then they've been caught lying now, and I just think, like, I don't think they needed to do any of that. Like, there's no issues, like, having these games on both systems. I mean, Nintendo do it all the time. Every time there's a new Zelda game comes out, it always ends up on both platforms. But, like, yeah, it's really weird. I kind of wish Sony wasn't lying about that stuff, because, you know, it's a corporate move, the idea that, oh, yeah, we'll just get them to pre-order the PS5, so they're going to want to get stuff for that system. Also, backwards compatibility. The Xbox Series consoles, will allow you to play games from all the generations, which is pretty fucking impressive. And like, yeah, you can say what you want about backwards compat. Some people really like it, other people don't. I'm one of these people that loves backwards compatibility because it means you just have a system that can play multiple games with your back catalogue and stuff, and people like that. But some people don't give a shit, and that's fair. That's a fair point as well. But Sony's only doing backwards compat with most of their PS4 games, not all of them. Apparently, like 99%, I believe it is. So, excuse me. So it's going to be interesting. Like both these systems have different things to be excited about in my eyes. Personally, I'd go with the Xbox just based on the fact that I could get a really cheap one and get the digital edition, and then on top of that, be able to play a bunch of games if I subscribe to that service, which would be really cool. But Sony does technically have, I mean, it's a remake, Demon's Souls, but it is an exclusive. So, you know, overall right now, I feel like we're in an interesting time. These consoles are coming out on, I believe it's the 10th, and then November the 12th and 19th for the PlayStation ones. Why? They're doing just sort of America, and then they're doing the worldwide release after that with Sony. And, oh, excuse me. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. This isn't very long to wait. This is a month and a bit. And we're going to know like how well these systems do, and quite frankly, we're in a really interesting time, and I am interested to see how these systems do when they come out the gate. I'm kind of leaning on Microsoft having slightly better value, but that is just a personal preference. That's not to say that they do. That's just how I would see it personally. But it's going to be interesting. Are there going to be enough systems for people to get there? Like, are the systems going to be good? Are the controllers going to be good? Is the DualSense going to be as good as developers have said it is? You know, both these consoles are very powerful as well. So all in all, it's really interesting times. I think in the long run, they're both going to do pretty well this generation. I think for different reasons. Microsoft's going to have a hell of a lot of subscriptions. I think the Xbox Series S is going to do very well for the price it's at. Sony will do well when they've got their exclusives out. And maybe not to start with, but by end of 2021, 2022, I think both companies will be in full scale and doing fairly well for themselves. So, yeah, my thoughts on it right now are I would personally get an Xbox Series S because it's cheap and it'd be kind of like easy to get a bunch of games on it if I wanted to play it. But I think the $500, £450 consoles are going to be absolute beasts. And it's going to be an interesting time. I'm genuinely excited because I'm not buying anything day one, but I'm genuinely excited to see how well these consoles sell and how long it takes for a lot of this stuff to get back in stock once they sell through. You know, so yeah, there's just some updated thoughts on the whole next gen thing that I've been following, and quite frankly, I think it's a very interesting time. And I'm going to keep an eye on it and see where things go and where it's all going and who seems to be coming out on top and all that sort of stuff. So I'm genuinely excited about it while I'm still playing my Switch in the corner and not worrying about next gen systems. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for listening as always. Hopefully this has been an interesting kind of take on things. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, and hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter down below in the description as always. And until next video, I'll see you then.